This is your no bullshit guide to a happier life. Quick, but not necessarily easy tips to help you to squeeze every last drop of enjoyment out of your business and your life. My name is Helen Calvert. I'm a coach, a business owner and a parent, and I'm so happy to be here with you. I do swear occasionally, as the title suggests, so pop in your headphones if I'm not safe for little ears. Ready to go? Let's do this. Hello and welcome to this episode where we're going to be talking about journaling as part of our toolkit for managing life. Who regularly does journaling? What does journaling even mean? I suspect it means different things to different people. I'm going to talk to you about some of the different ways I journal and some of the things I've tried in preparation for this podcast. I do have a journal, a beautiful notebook that I use as a journal, and I've used it on and off for quite some time now. I don't use it as a daily practice. I have been in the run up to this podcast, and it's been really useful, and I know it's been useful as a daily thing before now. But as with everything, I don't expect consistency of myself. I just expect myself to remember it's a useful tool when I need it. So how does journaling contribute to a happier life? For me, it's absolutely about clarity of thought. It's about getting clear on what's going on, because our brains are noisy places, aren't they? Mine's like some kind of carnival and a fairground and a circus all rolled into one. Absolutely crazy in there, so much going on. And sometimes we know exactly what's happening for us, and other times we feel a certain way and we can't figure out why. We don't really know why we're feeling uncomfortable or worried or even excited. You know, some of the positive emotions, we can be a bit confused about what's going on. It's great for getting clear. And you know how much I love a bit of clarity. Now, for me, the slightly, I was going to say bullshit element. It's not a bullshit element at all. But the bit that I tend to put to one side is the creativity of it and the making it beautiful. But that's not BS, because that is a really important part of it, depending on how you are journaling. If I am trying to get clarity of thought, I don't tend to worry about it being creative and beautiful and making a lovely page. But being creative and making a beautiful and lovely page is a wonderful mindful exercise and is a really important part of journaling for some people, or just on some days, you know. So, and of course, there are brilliant shopping opportunities. I love a good retail opportunity because journaling requires a beautiful journal. And if you are going to be creative with it, it requires amazing pens and stickers and all kinds of fabulous stationery that we desperately need an excuse to buy. So be as creative as you like. But the way I do it, if I don't have any other plan in mind, if I just pick up my journal, what I tend to start with is what is in my head. And that is the things that are at the front of my head. There's no judgment, there's no expectation. You know, I might have a really important thing coming up in my day, but it turns out in the front of my mind is something like, got to do the laundry, bit worried about that thing my kid's got going on, feeling kind of hungry. You know, it might be that the big thing that I've got coming up that day is not actually front of mind. So the first thing is just writing down what's actually in the front of my mind, what's going on there, what's really clamoring for my attention. And then I give it that attention, you know, what wants me to look at it. And then it's a question of, are there any themes going on here? So if it is just fairly random, everyday stuff, okay, right, we've just got a bit of a day ahead of us, that's fine. I can see some stuff that maybe is concerning me, that might need a bit of attention, but okay, that's fine. But it might be bigger things. It might be that things come out where, you know, perhaps I'm worried about my relationship, and then I'm worried about my children, and then I'm really concerned about that thing I said to a friend. And there's a lot of like social anxiety, and kind of you look at it and it's like basically what that all says is, does anybody like me? And of course I know my cycle well enough now to go, well, that sounds premenstrual. I wonder where I'm at in my cycle. But it's just seeing if there's any themes that jump out, because we think we know what we're thinking, but when we write it all down, it can be a bit of a revelation, and we can realise that, oh, okay, everything I've just written down, even though it felt like different thoughts, that's all actually about money, isn't it? Or that's all actually about anxiety, or that's about uncertainty, or then there will be a theme that comes out of it, which is probably what really needs your attention. And then you can go deeper and have a little think about what you might need to do to address all of that. Now, if I get to that point and there's nothing, either there's nowhere particularly deep to go, or I'm not sure how to go a bit deeper, my other fail-safe, which is never a bad idea, is to list out my needs. You'll have heard me talking before about having a clear picture of what our needs are, the things that we need in life, the simple things like water and healthy food, and the things that are unique to us, like for me, music and dancing, and the deeper needs, like sex and sleep. List those out, and then I look at which ones I'm going to be able to meet in my day. And I'm not trying to meet them all every day, but I'm trying to meet the majority of them. And I'm trying to figure out whether it's looking like a day when I won't really be able to meet many of them. And then how can I build in a few more? Like, not really meeting that many needs today. Can I maybe squeeze in a bit of fresh air? Maybe get in a bit of exercise? When can I listen to my favourite tunes? Am I driving anywhere? Can I remember to put a couple of songs on? Let's see how many needs I can meet in my day. Because no matter what's happening in my head, meeting my needs will always make it easier. So that's my kind of standard journaling template, and everyone has their own, what they would do with a journal if they had no other direction. That just happens to be mine. But then something else I did whilst I was preparing for this episode was I got a little journaling kit from Kimmy of Nourished Northern Mamas. I'll put a link to her stuff in the show notes. And it was about, basically you get a little kit with like a nice tea bag and some biscuits and a little bit of stationery. It's really lovely. And you get a little page with a theme. And this one was all about what gets you, I can't remember the exact wording, but it's what gets you going in the morning, like what lights you up, what wakes you up, what do you need in your day. And there was things to colour in, and there was bits to write, and you created this really beautiful page in a very mindful way, and there was a YouTube video to follow along with it. And it was a lovely exercise. And it was very different, and I think it met a different need. This wasn't about emptying my head or getting clarity. This was about giving myself a different focus and giving myself a mindful and creative pause in my day, which I think a lot of people use journaling for. And it was really lovely. So I would recommend having a look at what Kimmy has to offer, because that was really, really enjoyable and definitely brought the calm. And then I just sort of noted down a few observations as I journaled every day about what it gave me. And certainly starting, I've written down all the pens. I got out all my gel pens, and starting the day with a little bit of creativity was really good. As was, as I say, emptying my head, focusing on my needs. And then one of the days I was feeling particularly perhaps overwhelmed, or as though overwhelm was on the horizon. And so I did something that I call free writing. I don't know if I think maybe free writing might be a different thing, but it's something I do whenever my head feels really full. And it's literally just starting a page and writing down I do it in columns. So like top to bottom, I usually get I'm just looking at my page now. Yeah, I get about 3 columns on a page. And it's just the words. It's just the words that are in my head, and I write them really fast. It's really messy. I usually can't get them out fast enough. It's intensely personal because I write down literally everything that's in my head. So I'm looking at one of the pages now. I've got names of people who have been in my mind. I've got sort of things that I've got to do in my day. I've got seemingly random thoughts. I've got little things that are obviously popping up as reminders, things like bolognese. That was clearly what I was going to cook that night, I've put things like money, which is obviously a big deal, and then bins, which clearly they need to go out. It's a real mixture. But what it does is it empties my head, which is great. But it also, again, gives me clarity in a different way, because there are words that come up more than once. There are words that I wouldn't even have been aware were in my head. There are things that are clearly percolating in my head that I had maybe forgotten because each day we have the stuff that's happening, don't we? I've got to do that presentation, and this friend's having that problem, and my kid's got this going on at school, and I've got a bit of a cold, and all that stuff. So the stuff that happened 2 days ago, we've already forgotten it, but it's still there. It's still sitting there. And sometimes we can get to the end of a week and just think, why am I so... God, I'm exhausted. I haven't done anything. But actually we've been carrying all kinds of stuff. And sometimes just emptying our head, like scribbling these words onto pages and pages until you've got nothing else to scribble, can be really helpful in just emptying it all out and seeing, that's what's in there. Okay, interesting. And it's not to show to anybody. So as I say, it's intensely personal. You can write anything you want. Emotions will come out. There'll be things like, I've got here coffee, flowers, sky, and then there'll be things like anger, frustration. It's all just thrown in there. Whatever is in your head, throw it on the page. And I do find that remarkably helpful. So I've now actually got it as a part of my daily routine again for as long as, I keep it. It has been very useful. And I know that it's something else that other people find useful. But as with so many of these tools, people focus on the consistency and not on the tool. So I've heard people say, I must get back into journaling, as though they've done something terribly wrong by not picking it up for a few days. But that's fine. It's a journal. It's not a person standing over you asking you where you've been. It misses you. It's to pick up when you need to pick it up. And there will be days when you think, that's the thing I need. Yes, let's get the journal out. Let's get the journal out and empty my head. Or let's get the journal out and get the pens out and get creative and make something beautiful from my thoughts. And it's a tool that can be used like any other, just when you need it. Something that has come out for me that's been of interest to me with the journaling I've done recently is one of the needs that's been coming through very strongly is a need for me to get outside. I always need fresh air and sunshine, but it's been a really strong one. Like, wow, every time I sit down to write this stuff out, I really need to get outside, which I don't think I would have noticed if I hadn't been journaling. Because we launch ourselves into our day, don't we? And we've got the to-do list and we've got the things that need to happen. And we might get outside because we're on the school run or we've popped to Tesco's, but we don't really think of it as an outside experience. And I've just been giving myself the chance to literally sit in my garden, walk around the block. I've done a couple of bits of yoga in the local park. Nothing major, not like a big hours session, just like a 10-minute YouTube video, but I fancy doing it in the park. Yes, I am that woman you see in the park who doesn't give a toss because she's happily doing her yoga in the sunshine. So it can bring out things that we didn't know were there, which is probably the thing I like the most about it. So if there is a mindset block for this one, I don't think there is particularly. If there is one, it's just the same one that I think I've talked about a lot with all of these tools, which is you don't have to be consistent with it. And I guess you don't have to have a perfect journal. Yeah, that's probably the other one. Don't worry about it being beautiful. This isn't going to be published for future generations. This is just a place to put bits of your brain that don't need to be inside anymore, that you could do with getting out. So don't let the feeling that you have to do it every day in a special way with special creativity, don't let that put you off. You can pick it up anytime and do with it whatever you like. So until next time, give journaling a go, be excessively kind to yourself, and hopefully emptying your head will help you to squeeze every last drop of enjoyment out of life. Speak to you next time. Thank you so much for listening. It's great to have you along for the ride. If you enjoyed the episode, I'd be so grateful if you could leave me a review. And don't forget to subscribe so you know when new episodes are up. If you identified a mindset block during the episode and would like to work with me one-to-one, you can find out how in the show notes. See you next time.